Pause. Wait a second. Awkward pause. Continues awkward pause. Stead's dancing. Sean's counting. Yep, that can only mean one thing. It's time once again for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. The worst 120 minutes in all of sports podcasting. As always, I'm Mike, and I'm joined by my partners in crime. London Sean, back after a brief hiatus to take care of some family matters. How goes it?
Goes very well. Pubs reopened today. Bournemouth won. Couldn't be any better.
Yeah, we'll talk to Chelsea Mike and get a recap of the playoffs, but it was Bournemouth and Swansea picking up the wins in the championship playoff. So if service holds, we're looking at a rematch between two former Premier League teams. I think all of us were in some way, shape, and form pulling for what it's Barnsley, right? Or Barnsley.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because we hadn't seen them before, or Brentford. That was who I was pulling for.
Yeah,
because we hadn't seen them before, and it would be nice. And that also brings with it the possibility that Daryl Dike could be up in the Premier League team if Orlando City does the right thing and doesn't stifle his career over a couple of $1 million here or there. I know that they were offering Orlando City said they turned down 10 because they wanted 20, but I have to feel like if somebody comes in with a bid of 15 to 17 million dollars this season, it'd be really, 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 really hard for them to say no. And we'll get a chance to talk to him a little bit later. Mr. Stead, the hostess, or with the mostest, our producer in chief. How goes it, my friend?
Good, going real good. Looking forward to the summer. Ready to get back to some regular life, but also as you can see, it's almost June and I'm still wearing a sweatshirt. And I thought I lived in the East Coast, even though I'm in the Northern American South. I'm still in the American South. I was expecting to not be wearing one by now, but I'm not going to complain. It gets awfully hot here in the summer, so I will enjoy this cool weather for as long as possible.
Yeah, it has been unseasonably cold. In fact, it delayed the cicadas by a couple of weeks, but doggone it, they're coming. I was just walking in the house from getting the mail, and there were 3 of those little buggers crawling across the sidewalk looking like gigantic roaches.
Wow, you're doing pretty good. I have about, on a conservative estimate, there's about 1,000 in my front yard. The tree has about 500, I'd say. These are conservative estimates, and my backyard is completely overrun. The raccoons and the foxes that are in the neighborhood have already eaten themselves to complete and utter gluttony. If you don't like the cicadas, don't come to my house because they are everywhere.
Note to self, we will not be doing a Memorial Day barbecue.
Oh, no.
At Stead's house.
Bring some toothpicks. I'll toothpick them up and throw them on the grill. Definitely not having it at my house.
My mother-in-law was barbecuing one time, the last time the cicadas were out, and everybody was huddling around the grill, and she said, if one of these doggone cicadas gets in my face one more time, I'm going to throw it on the grill and barbecue it. And of course, the minute she said that, everybody showed up with their plate. I never had cicada, but if she's cooking it, are the cicadas ready yet?
Yeah.
Are the cicadas ready yet?
Hey, you can get
out of my face.
Yeah, you can get deep fried cicadas around here. Absolutely. Deep fried.
I think
you sure can.
I've become more brave with my eating habits recently, but I think I'm going to take a pass on the cicadas. Gentlemen, as we bring in our first guest, Roger, before we get to him, I want to know, is anybody else feeling a little bit exhausted? It's almost the end of the season, and normally I'm extremely excited by this time. But man, I'm just feeling a little worn out. It could be the 4 games in 8 days that Manchester United played, it could be just, I feel like we have just been going and going and going with soccer really for almost a continuous year, because there was only, what, 2 weeks off?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean,
It feels like,
And if you count the Belarusian league, there was no time off at all.
that's true.
mhm. We
That's
know
true,
how you
but-
feel. We know how you feel about your breath, Sean.
We we got that 100 days where we were juggling, trying to figure out what to talk about. But man, I kind of think back at that fondly, because we've been going so hard. We got a little break with the MLS speed dating, but it has been definitely a show with all this, because this has been quite the ordeal. All this stuff going on, and just game after game after game and talk. I couldn't believe it. I felt bad for Manchester United for the first time in my life. I actually felt bad for Manchester United. I couldn't believe it. I thought the phone was wrong. I was going through looking at games going, they have a fixture on Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday again. Like, it's ridiculous.
Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday,
Thursday. Yeah.
And then one tomorrow, and
Right.
then another, the last one on Sunday.
Right, you couldn't blame
ahead
them
of the
for
midweek
playing.
game.
I even felt bad that they had to play a B team. I was like, the B team needs a break too.
Mhm. Well, we fortunately we have Coach Matt and British Will coming on a little bit later to break down that. You know, Matt can commiserate with me over Manchester United's run of fixtures, and you know, fortunately, they have secured Champions League football and all but secured second place in the league. We got Chelsea Mike coming on a little bit later to talk about the FA Cup final and the English League playoffs, and our good friend G give you guys a chance to.
I'm nervous. I don't know what he's going to do.
I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do. But before we get there, we want to welcome in a good friend of mine, Roger Hendler. Roger has been covering sports here in the United States basically since they were playing football with wood bricks. And he has been in Atlanta and Philadelphia. He does the Wednesday show with me, Fight Wars Radio, with myself, Roger, Tommy G, and Don Henderson, and it's a really great show. Roger was at the Atlanta United game this weekend, which has the distinction of being the most attended soccer match in the world in the last 18 months, I believe. Since COVID, since March of last year, there were 40,000 people at the Mercedes-Benz Arena to watch Atlanta United beat Montreal Impact. Well, the team formerly known as Montreal Impact. I believe they're going by FC Montreal right now. 1-0 on a Marcelo Moreno goal in the 94th minute. Roger, how you doing this evening? Oh, he's after he unmutes himself. Once we get him figured out, it wouldn't be a show without.
He's here. He's here.
Here. But we got to get him unmuted. So.
Is that good?
Oh, there you go, Roger. How you doing this evening?
Okay. Good, Mike. How are you? Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking to you as always. And it was 40,116 attendees, as you said, and as you and I talked about. It was very interesting with that goal, the one and only goal at the 94th minute. And they said that was since the beginning of the pandemic worldwide, and I found that very interesting. And it was an interesting game. I kid around tell a lot of my friends that's the first soccer game I have seen in person since my daughter was playing soccer in high school, and she graduated in 1998. And I've seen a lot on TV, but it also brought back great memories. And I lived for 30 years in Mercer County, central New Jersey. And Mercer County College for many years hosted the National Junior College Soccer Championships. And they had some really great teams. from the junior college ranks. You may be familiar with the Yapapi, I think it was how it's pronounced, and got to meet some great soccer people over the years.
So what was the, I mean, you've covered a bunch of sports, been to more games than I think any one of us
I'm old, right? You're right. I'm old.
I'm not saying you're old. I just know that you've been doing this for quite a while. I wasn't going to say that, but how does this atmosphere compare to other sports? You know, you've done a lot with Major League Baseball, hockey, NFL football. How did the atmosphere, those 40,000 people in Mercedes-Benz, how did you find that atmosphere compared to some of the other sports that you've covered down there and in Philadelphia?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I've attended 5 Super Bowls, and I guess 3 World Series. And you know, when you're there for the final game, I wasn't at the Phillies in 1980. I was in 08, I guess it was. And no, I wasn't there then. But 93, when they got to the World Series and lost to Toronto, I was there attending games because I was doing radio, up in Princeton. But you know, I'll tell you, one of the most exciting times I had was Saturday night, and what really I found interesting was that the fans stay around after the game, and especially when you have a goal scored at the very end of the game, that you couldn't ask for more. And the fandom is tremendous, and as you explained to me, there's only, I think, they're allowed to have the tarps or the curtains down to go up to 70,000. Of course, they're still restricted on attendance, but 6 games a year, I think you said, Mike? I believe
I believe MLS rules allow them to open up the full capacity of the stadium about up to 6 times a year, which, once they get done, they'll do. Sean, my colleague Sean, who's on with us, we were selling him. I was trying to convince him to become a Atlanta United fan because he's from London. And one of my selling points was they own the top 10 highest attendance for single games. They also own 11 and 12. So of the most attended games, all of them are Atlanta United games. I know that you had kind of moved back to the Philadelphia area for a little bit before going back down there. How have you seen the difference in Atlanta United since you left and then came back? Is it a bigger team now than you remember it being when they first started?
Well, when I first left 5 years ago, they didn't exist. And they were on the planning board, with Arthur Blank, because I was covering the Falcons, and we would talk about it often about the team coming and where they were going to build the training complex, which is out in Cobb County, and which was really smart because that way they're drawing from that group, and it's just a well-oiled machine. And Matt Moore, who was the vice president of digital, was with the Falcons, and and I know him pretty well. And they moved him over. And what's interesting, when they first started the process, I was talking to Matt at a Falcons press conference, during a week, with the coach. And he was telling me he had gone on a tour to look at stadiums, I guess pretty much MLS wide, and one of them was the one up in Chester, for the Union. And he was telling me how impressed he was. Now, granted, that only seats about 20,000. So you're talking about here playing in an NFL stadium, and I had not been in that stadium before. It's very impressive. I'm used to the dome, and you have to ask people where the media room is, and of course we're at social distancing in the press box. But the press box has a monitor at each of the first level seats, and which is great because you also have a big one above you if you were in the second row like I was, but you can look down on the first row and see the smaller videos. So you can constantly be looking at the field. But that stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, has so much inside. The roof was open. It was just very impressive. But as I mentioned to you, Mike, a couple of points really stood out in my mind about MLS. I did some research, and I found that pretty much the average official makes about $55,000 a year, and I would say that would probably in the NFL get you to about 2 games. And I may be wrong, but and the other question I had or note that I took that I wanted to talk to you about was the average age of officials, because the amount of running that they do compared to a referee or even an NBA ref, or obviously in Major League Baseball. Hockey would probably be about the closest, but there you're on skates and you're in a very confined area. But I could not believe how much running that referee out on the field did. And of course, you're used to seeing it all the time. I was not. And I don't think when you're watching it on TV that you do really pick up that much on what the official does.
Instead, Roger may be the first person to ever come on this show and say something nice about football referees.
No, I was talking. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Oh no, you know what? I have to agree with you though. I think one thing that gets lost by us soccer fans is like how much the referee has to cover, and how this is probably the only game where you have sort of one set of eyeballs that's supposed to monitor the whole thing, even with the, and then 3 when you have your two line judges. So yeah, it's not a kind task to ask for that particular type of officiating. And there have been calls on several occasions for there may to be more than one referee on the field, but of course it hasn't come to fruition. But yeah, the fitness tests they have to go through are probably much more rigorous than the other leagues, especially when you look at the NFL.
Yeah, most of the referees,
which I love, by the way.
Yeah, most of the referees that I see look to be, in their 30s, 40s. Sean, you would have a better idea of who the older referees over in England would be, because I don't see many of those guys lasting much past 40, 50 years old. Although I do believe, wasn't Howard Dean ancient by the time he hung it up?
Yeah, I seem to remember he was definitely sort of going mid to late 40s. Okay. And then we've had others retire quite young, like Mark Clattenburg, who was about 38. He went off to Saudi because they offered him full time for money in Saudi. Yeah. But a Premier League referee, I think, is earning about between 100 and 150,000 a year now.
Well, yeah, and the Premier League referees would be the equivalent of our NFL referees or Major League Baseball umpires. Certainly to Roger's point, at 55,000 for the season, I mean, it's the amount of traveling that they have to do, the amount of grief that they get subject to. That's on the lower end. It's hard to see somebody becoming. You really have to love the game that we want to become a professional MLS referee. And instead, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there something about the first American ref being assigned to a European game or a World Cup or an international tournament recently? One of our top refs just got assigned to.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I can't recall which one, but yeah, there is one ref that has sort of been moved out of the MLS rankings and is sort of
doing international stuff. I think it may have been that there was actually an American ref who was part of a Champions League.
We've had American refs as part of crews, especially someone who holds the flag, but not necessarily one to be a full-on match official. But look,
that is
that's
big
something,
deal.
yeah. But look, hey, our favorite though, Mike Dean, 52, still hanging on.
Mike Dean,
wow,
52.
And Sean, you'll tell us he's about as blind as a bat.
He pulls out
Yep.
so many cards so he can catch his breath, you know?
Yeah, they do
Yeah,
a
there
lot
were
of
a
running.
couple of yellow cards pulled on Saturday night, and it was interesting as far as the United go. They really controlled the first half in possession time, and then the Montreal came back, but the United still controlled it. But just getting back to your point, because I won't. I know you got a lot on the show, so I won't take much time. But I just one of the things that I did notice, and I've said this to you, Mike, on Wednesday shows, that I see more decals and out on vehicles in the Atlanta area for the United than I do, and I saw it also, a lot of them in Philadelphia for the Union too, but much more here, and there seems to be much more support. If you go into a convenience store, you'll see an employee or customers, but even employees wearing masks that have the United logo on them. I've also the fan support there with the jerseys. I could not believe it. I probably didn't see, but maybe of all the people, a couple thousand or more that I saw that did not have a United jersey on. And one guy I saw had a number 1, and I think that's Gudon, right? The goalie.
Brad
Is that how
Guzan,
you pronounce it? Yeah.
Brad Guzan, yeah.
And he did a terrific job. And what also impressed me, which you see in soccer that you don't see in other sports, is he made a circle around the entire stadium acknowledging the fans. And of course everybody's excited because they won 1-0, but I just there were a number of the points that I found that I really was not that familiar with, because obviously I'd never been to an MLS game live. That was my first experience.
I think one of the things that Atlanta has done great was getting that support from the beginning, right? They've always been able to put about 40, even when they were playing on Georgia Tech, they're putting about 40 to 50,000, and they've really created, in my opinion, a great unique atmosphere, a homegrown atmosphere. It's not like so many of the MLS teams that we complain about, gentlemen, where it's, oh, we've got to kind of create this faux European atmosphere. They have their own sort of identity, their own intrinsic atmosphere that they've brought to the games. The one that really sticks out to me, Stead, was when I was watching them play in the MLS Cup Finals, which was that day where it was like the MLS Cup Finals, Copa Libertadores Finals. There was another big game. I want to say like maybe Barca and Real Madrid were playing that day, but there was a series of big games. And watching that, remembering like when they opened it up and it was 60,000 against the Portland Timbers, what was that, 2 years ago? It sounded, for the first time through television, it sounded like a proper soccer match, right?
Yeah,
it sounded like it was loud, it was boisterous, there were chanting, there was singing, the fans were in full voice, there was all, you could see all the jerseys and stuff in the state. It looked like a proper professional league final match, and that was the first time where I thought, like, okay, there's something here. You know?
Agreed. And especially considering they're still a relatively new team in the MLS. So the fact that they were able to create that atmosphere in a town that has a very strong sports history. It's not like they were yearning for some sort of professional league to come by and give them some entertainment. And that atmosphere was very, very exciting. And the way they had local celebrities that were there in support of the squad, you had, but what I like about it though is that they still it still seemed like they were in the United States. They weren't trying to replicate an environment from some other part of the world. It still felt like the United States. It just felt like this is a bunch of Americans actually excited to watch American teams play soccer. and it's not the World Cup. So that was very, very uplifting for me, even if it's not a team that I support. It was great to see. It was really exciting. And I actually turned that game on and smiled without even really realizing it. So that was positive.
Yeah, I always give them credit. I think that organization is one of the class acts in MLS because of the fact that they've gone in and done such a good job with that. Even down to the minor details, Roger, the fact that you mentioned they play in an NFL stadium. But one thing Arthur Blank said when he built that stadium was he wanted it to be conducive to soccer. So he has it set up so the sight lines are good for both, because the soccer field's a little wider than your NFL field. And he was very, very specific about the fact that there would never be a Atlanta United game that had NFL grid lines on the field, right?
Yeah.
They will never
Take note,
play.
New England. Take note, New England.
Thanks, New England. Thanks, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what else. I think they have sports turf there. And I also found it interesting, before the first half, they watered down the field. Okay. They had guys out there with the hoses, but they also had like a sprinkler system. I found that very interesting because I had never seen that on artificial turf before. They did it also before the second half. And there was another factor. I was just thinking, I know. I just saw the other day, and I hope to go to see a game, the Atlanta United 2, I guess the developmental team, they play their games up at Kennesaw, which is Kennesaw State University, which eventually will be the highest enrolled university in the state of Georgia. And Kennesaw is just a growing university. It's a beautiful area. And that stadium, I've seen it from the outside because they started football a few years ago. And that is a great place to play. And I think what it does is it gets people that live 30 miles out or 40 miles out. They can even come down from Chattanooga and come right down 75, and you're there. So you can probably make it back to Chattanooga in a little over an hour from up there, on I-75. So there's just a lot of pluses that are going on with the United organization. They have good people. You and I both know Chris Winkler, Mike, and he's done a magnificent job, as the PR media relations director.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He was the former communications director for the Philadelphia Union before they poached him and took him down to Atlanta. But I've had a lot of great fun working with him. Atlanta United is doing what most of the MLS teams are doing. Stead and Sean, they're moving their farm team. It originally was in Charleston. It was the Charleston Battery, and then they ended their affiliation with them and brought them back home. I think you see the Union doing that. They were originally had their farm team in Bethlehem, but they're now their academy team is playing back, and it gives the opportunity for the kids to train and play at roughly the same facility that the senior team plays at. And so we're seeing a lot more of that academy system, Sean, instead develop in the United States. And I think that has paid dividends for the senior men's team. Part of the reason is the strength of this academy is the reason why, we're seeing guys like Daryl DK being able to make that move to England, Josh Sargent, some of these guys making those moves to Europe because they're getting the proper training in a professional setting, playing in their academy ball in the same facilities or close to them that the senior teams play. And you got more of a Carrington setup at Atlanta United and Philadelphia Union and some of these other teams than you do. Like, it's kind of hard for them to see and learn from the big guys if they're playing all the way in South Carolina and the mothership is in Atlanta. It doesn't work like that. Well, Roger, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate the time. I'll tell you, just to relate that to baseball, what I could never figure out is I think the Mets farm team's in Las Vegas. To me, that made no sense. Whereas you look at the Phillies, theirs is up in Allentown, so you can, and Reading was a AA, so you can move people around. The Braves,
AAA is right not far from where I
think
live.
DC has like
that's what they
2
have to do.
right around here as well. Yeah, with baseball.
Yeah, there's Frederick, but their original team,
there's also a team in Bowie.
There's also, but
And
their
boom.
AAA stud was out in Fresno. Yeah, that's doing a lot.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. You guys do a great job. I've listened before. And Mike, thanks a lot for having me. I look forward to talking to you on Wednesday.
Yeah, and we'll get you back in next time you go to a game, and hopefully we can maybe get some of the guys from Atlanta United to come on and join us and make us
that
look
would
like
be
we
great.
actually have a clue what we're doing. Thanks a lot, Roger.
Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
So, I mean, there you have it, Atlanta United doing big things in MLS.
Everybody brace yourselves.
It's that time.
It's time.
So I got my one segment out where we actually did a legitimate show with a legitimate guest. And what was I thinking when I scheduled G to come on?
You didn't wait till like 10. Bring him on. Here he comes.
I think I wanted to end the show with Mike in the chat stuff, but I don't know what I was thinking. I must have been waking up. All right, bring him on.
All right, let's see what he's doing. Yeah, we're all kind of holding our breath here.
You know what? She's not going to do anything tonight.
Of course, he's going to sit there with an Arsenal jersey. Like, hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
What? What? Like, right? I got something on my face here. You know, when you're coaching like this, you're coaching for a professional team like Schalke, you know, you got to dress the part. Certain coaches got the track outfit. Certain coaches got the tie. I'm going the old school tie, respect the sports. So, hey, just throwing things out there, you know?
Oh, man. You won. You won. I'm leaving.
It's over. It's over.
No, I just got done with one of my my banquets, so I'm like, screw it. I'm just gonna go in, right? Not my sports banquet for the high school, so screw it. Why not wear a tie? Throw you guys off. So here we are. Perfect.
You cannot. Even in my prediction that he was going to show up and play straight today, I didn't have that. Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
G, all right. You never fail to make an
entrance.
Great
to see you, G.
Never fail to make it.
If that's my shtick, if that's what I bring to the show, I'd love it because I'm totally on that board. So bring it on.
Yes.
But I can't do it every week, so I got to keep you guys on your toes. So, you know.
Yes, G's entrances are now officially a thing. We can't predict. G, how goes it, my friend?
It's pretty good right now, man. Just kind of wrapping up the school year and everything. Tomorrow, the old ball and chain, we're all going to New Orleans. We're going to check out the new school that I'm going to work at, and hopefully looking for places to live. So things are looking up and up right now. So it's moving quite fast, but also quite slow in the same part. So seniors last day for my school was tomorrow, but I won't be there. So it was more or less my official last day today with them. So a lot of bittersweetness going on right now, but yeah, man, the biggest thing is Arteta. Is he going to stay or is he going to leave? And that's, you know, kind of what's been on my mind lately is what is the direction of Arsenal? You know, whatever kind of direction, we can always, you know, put things together like this, you know, but with Arteta, we went through the Unai experiment. Now we're going through the Arteta experiment. And for fans, how much longer do we have to wait? We are 9th this year. And, you know, through the Arsenal little text string that we have, you know, Sean brought it up like, hey, we can go up to like 6th. And I was kind of looking at it like, man, we possibly can go up to 5th. Obviously with a lot of help. And all of a sudden the true colors kind of show with the other teams winning like they're supposed to. And Arsenal just not getting the points that we need to get out of 9th place. We're trapped in 8th. So with a 500 team, more or less, what is the direction? So that's kind of what's on the docket today for Arsenal.
I find it, I've been on this roller coaster with y'all three the whole entire season, and it's been interesting to watch it, to be sort of an outside bystander, a disinterested observer as we go through with Arsenal fans and the Arteta roller coaster and the team, you know, just how much it lurches from feeling positive, we've got the right man for the job, to we're unsure, we're in ninth. What progress has really been made? Because it's undeniable that they're going to finish the season worse off than they finished the season last year. Before, Sean, what did you say? This is the worst season that they've had in what, 40 years?
Something like 35 years or something. I think 75, 76 was the last time we
Much older than
lower
35.
point.
I was born in 78, so
Yeah,
it's
For point total,
And-
yeah. I mean, they finished this low before, but they had plenty more points than they have this year. The point total is really what's shocking.
yeah.
And I think the other thing is like the potential lack of European qualification for the first time in 25 years. You know, it's still a stretch to even qualify for the playoff stages of the Europa Conference League, which if I had turned to Arsenal fans, you three, at the beginning of the season and said you would struggle to get into the Europa Conference League, I don't know whether you would have said, you know what, I would rather not have European football at all than have to deal with that particular tournament.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the question, you know, where is this a job that Arteta can do? Does he have time left to continue to learn on the job like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did, right?
Sorry, I was getting weak connection. I gotta get out. My bad, guys.
No worries. Can he afford to do what Solskjaer did? Remember, Solskjaer, you know, had the bad end to his first season. Ended up in the Europa League, Champions League qualification last season, but there's been steady progress up the table over the course of his 2 full seasons in charge. This is Arteta's first, right? Can Arsenal afford really to even stick with Arteta and give him the reins to this rebuild? And do you three feel confident with him at the helm of this? So I'll start with Sean, since you're our longest serving Arsenal fan. Are you comfortable with Arteta and putting him in charge of developing this squad? Do you think he has the ability to extract better from them?
It's a good question, Mike. I've been up and down with Arteta. I've been a big supporter. I thought he was in big trouble before Christmas. Well, he was in big trouble before Christmas. We lost 4 consecutive home games, which I don't think has been done ever in the history of Arsenal since we've been in the First Division. And then there's been a bit of a resurgence, but he fell flat on his face the most important game of the season, which I still am hurting over, our draw against Villarreal 10 days ago. Should he stay or should he go? I'm probably in favour of him staying, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I'm not quite sure who we put in charge to start all over again. You look at who's available out in the marketplace, and there's no one that really sort of grabs my attention in terms of replacing him. But I saw an astonishing fact that on Twitter the other day. If you were to count the league from Boxing Day onwards and look at the points score, Man City would be top with 60 points. Man U would be second with 44. And astonishingly, we'd be third with 41 points. And that's gone unnoticed. So you could argue that since he started the clear out, which was sort of January, although from the outside it looks as though we've stumbled a bit in the league, he's put a lot of points on the board. And had he not had such a poor start to the season, we wouldn't be looking at 9th. We would be looking, you know, maybe 7th, 6th, 5th. Is that good enough? Probably not. I think most Arsenal fans would see us being at least Champions League material. He's failed to deliver on that front. He had a second chance to deliver on that front, and he failed again. But I think he's worth persevering with personally, and I think we will see. I think Arsenal fans will be shocked at what's going to happen this summer. I keep on hearing lots of snippets on the media. I think the Cronkies are gonna actually do something that they haven't done for the however long they've owned the club, which is what, 13, 14 years. And I think they might put their hands in their pocket. It's quite astonishing. We have something like 13 players that are either in their last year of contract or people that we want to get rid of. So the interesting thing is, in this market, who's going to buy? We heard David Luiz is going today. We hear that Willian wants to go. There was rumours the other day that Leno did an interview where he said, "I don't care if I have a new experience or if I stay here, I'm quite happy." That didn't sound too positive. And Guendouzi, Torreira, the list goes on and on and on. So there could be big change. Would Arteta be the man to put in charge of the recruitment? That's been a bit hit and miss. But no, I'm gonna put my weight behind keeping Arteta at least one more season.
Stead, what are your thoughts? Are you confident?
I have to concur with Sean. My biggest concern was that just what other options do they have? And the options are just very slim. I just don't see another choice right now where you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with a coach that will not have experience, because as we've seen, coaches who do have that experience don't want the job, and they haven't been climbing over themselves. You didn't hear Mourinho when he was leaving Manchester United yell out that he wanted the Arsenal job. He said he wanted the Spurs job. So, there's definitely something to be said about the fact that, absolutely. But there's something to be said about the fact that management is a question, and is there the attraction of Arsenal any stronger now than it would have been before? I don't know. So I also, I was just like Sean, I was a big supporter and I saw a lot of potential. And, I have to still remind myself that he's 38. And, I think the mistake has already been made. The mistake was to bring a coach in that young and have him cut his teeth as a manager and a head coach with a club of the stature of Arsenal. Even though we were comparing him to Frank Lampard, he at least had the experience of coaching a championship level team that had lower expectations and allow him to at least experience what it's like to be a head coach. Arteta had no experience. He had none. And I think he is lucky that he's coaching a team that seems to have a disinterested owner currently. And now they're trying to act like they care when still, I don't think many of the fans are buying it. So he has to have on-the-job training because we really don't have a choice. I just don't see Arsenal has a choice right now. You have to stick with him, especially with the reports that we're hearing that the team is going to be completely overhauled. And it doesn't sound like they're too concerned about being overhauled at a loss. The pressure from, I'll say that the grumblings of the fans and the fact that there is interest in purchasing the club from quite a few billionaires in Europe and in Africa, that the Cronkies have to do something to, if nothing else, to save face. I mean, say what you want. You're not a sports owner with having some level of pride, and you're not that successful, or without some level of wanting to be successful in all facets of your business. And I think that if the club owners actually have some level of competitive spirit, they cannot be satisfied with this level of success. And you would hope that they would want to be an actual big six, big four squad that they claim to be, historically speaking, because currently they're not. I mean, you look at the last 5 years, you can't say Leicester hasn't outplayed them. Even with Arsenal's FA Cup wins, I would trade in those for a Premier League title and an FA Cup win as well. So, when Chelsea Mike comes on, you're going to hear me. I'm going to be singing Leicester's praises, and it's hasn't been fun to watch from an Arsenal fan's perspective to feel like you're kind of getting replaced.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things though is what you say about Kroenke wanting to overhaul the squad mirrors what you hear from Tampa and the Glazers and feeling the need. It is possible that one of the net effects of this failed ESL experiment is a realization amongst these American owners that they are in possession of something that is sacrosanct and bigger than them, and that these are not yachts. They are stewards of a tradition that they need to care for, and that will require some monetary investment on their part. I don't think it's coincidental that you hear this coming from two of the owners who have been Kroenke reluctant to spend, Glazers not always wise with their spending. That this year we're going to do this because they feel, though they've heard those protests, they've seen them. How could you miss them?
Right.
Now the question is there going to be, are those players going to be available at prices that they can afford, right?
Well, I think affording is, we see with Manchester City, affording is not a question. I mean, again, if they are serious, they know financial fair play means absolutely nothing, and they can go get the players. I think the bigger question is, those players want to come to Arsenal. I think that's the bigger question.
I also think there is a situation, though, where you're talking about the wage structure and things at a club. And sure, you're right. You could go out right now and pay the 150 million that Borussia Dortmund want for Erling Haaland. You could give him that £500,000 contract that he wants. But what is the net effect going to be on the rest of the club?
Exactly. And first of all, is he going to come? And number two, you can't say that Gareth Bale had a super positive impact on Spurs, even though they weren't paying his salary. And we already saw what Ozil's contract did after he signed the big £350,000 a week contract. It didn't happen anymore. So I think if they're wise, you would know that you have a base of young talents. You have to continue to spend in ways that are sound. Go find. Say what you want. I think Anthony Martial is a good player. And the price was jacked up because it was Manchester United, and the Manchester United paid it. If that was Arsenal, they were going to sell him to Arsenal for 20 million less. So there are good players out there. You have to scout them. You have to do the work. Don't forget, Leicester was able to find N'Golo Kante, and they were able to find Riyad Mahrez. And Riyad Mahrez is playing the best football he's ever played right now in his career. And we all know what N'Golo Kante can do. And so there are players out there. You have to find them, and then you have to have a manager that can integrate them into their lineup. That's Arteta's job. But
the issue is, if you have the front office that's so unstable, nobody wants to come here.
That's my bigger question, because I feel like Mike, you're making an excellent point, but I feel like that's a little bit farther beyond where Arsenal is, just because I'm piggybacking on what G just said. Yes.
Yeah, and if you got some of these big name players coming, they're not going to be here. So what is our next option? Youth. We have plenty of youth, so we're gonna dump a bunch of guys here. And Sean, you said that Leno made an interview like he was kind of on the fence, but then he did another interview, said no, that was wrong. I want to be here. So right there, we got
because they called his bluff. They're like, really, you want to go? Yeah. Okay, and he was like, whoa, I don't want to go play for Werder Bremen.
And that's
but then we have this bunch of new guys coming, or young guys. So when I did some research, some of the people who are popping up, like Wilfred Zaha, that they're like these are the people that we're going to attract. Like my nemesis. Like I would love to in his Achilles.
I'd take him now, though.
If we're going to attract these kind of players, we are the 500 club. We're going to be a 500 club for a very long time. And Leicester replaced us. And we need to have a new reality when it comes to Gunners fans is we're not what we were 10 years ago, 15, 20, 30 years ago. We are what we are right now for the last 5 years. We're crap. We're not going in a really good direction. Like we see peaks and valleys, but we're staying right around the 500. We need some big time money, but then we get American investors to throw that cash. But right now we're not sitting well.
I will say this though. The last point I want to make, because we got the Liverpool Man U crew coming in. But Sean, I think you made an excellent point about the points Arsenal have scored since Boxing Day. That's a very, very, very good point. And the fact that, don't forget, Arsenal was in a relegation battle earlier this year. And, Big Sam came out of his mouth and said something he shouldn't have. That's why I was happy Arsenal were the one that sent them down. But that was not that long ago. That was not that long ago. So I think that while the frustration with the squad is still there, because it seems like whenever we had the chance to take a big step forward, we would stub our toe. But you can't deny the progress that was made. There was significant progress that was made, especially since Boxing Day. It just seemed like Arsenal seemed to win when no one was really paying attention. And when the lights were on, then it seems like the winning sort of ceased.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, Stead, that it was not only 3 seasons ago that we were absolutely leaking goals for fun.
Yeah.
And the one thing Arteta's done in one season is we now have the 4th best defense.
Yes. Yeah. And we have the 13th best defense in Europe. So
and we get better too.
Yes.
Some of the people that are on the radar are going to be some stud players. So once we get rid of the Luis, yeah, Sean, you're right on. Our defense will even get better.
I think if anything that we've learned from the exploits of, Brendan Rodgers, Liverpool, when they were good, Manchester United this year, is that if you can get that one player that kind of unlocks a team for Liverpool, it was Luis Suarez.
Yeah. For
Manchester United, it was Luis Suarez. Even for Liverpool, for a certain extent, it was, when they got Mo Salah in, this iteration, Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
Sometimes those fortunes can change, and you can get that one player in, and all of a sudden he attracts other players because people want to come and play with him. I don't know if the likes of Rafa Varane and Harry Kane are necessarily beating down the door to play at Man United or play with OGS. I know that a lot of people will be queuing up because they want to play with Bruno Fernandes because they know that Bruno Fernandes will get them goals, right? With Luis Suarez that Luis Suarez is going to score and he's going to keep you in the limelight. So, you will have other increased potential. G, before we let you go for the evening, well dressed, I'm loving the look, very official. First off, how are things going for you and Coach Matt over at Schalke right now?
Well, I'm going to let Matt kind of take the lead on that, actually. Things are doing very well. Our first game, we're 1-0. We won 4-3 the other day, so things are looking good. Get some American fresh blood in there as coaching, it's what they need. So we're going to go up and up and up. But I'm going to let Matt kind of take over this. I need to kind of change, take a shower and stuff like that. I know he is, he's about 20 minutes behind me. He lives a little bit further away. So when he comes on, he'll explain everything. You guys are good to go.
All right, G, good to see you.
Good to see you, G.
We'll have you on next week when we do our big end of the season blowout.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right.
See you guys. Have a good day.
Hey, G.
All right, guys.
It's really going to be
I've never laughed harder at a man in a suit. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Oh, man. I feel like that is just going to be one of the running gags on the show from now on, and I just need to accept it and schedule around and plan and just collect myself before G comes on and just be ready for when he comes on. It's going to be something.
Absolutely.
You can't make that man up.
What's the national Croatian outfit? We should need it because he'll turn up in one of those.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I wouldn't put it past. I'm scared to see what he's going to do for.
Didn't know he's moving to New Orleans. I had to ask him about that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they're moving down there. He's leaving Florida after all of these years.
Yeah.
So
I have to look him up. I'm heading down there myself at some point pretty soon. So
we're gonna follow the comic stylings of Coach G with the gruesome twosome. Coach Matt.
Time to get to business. It's time to get to business.
I'm sorry. I'm now checking. I'm like, did they plan this on the chat line? I'm missing this. I'm missing this. What's that?
They had to plan this. Oh no. I'm done. I'm done. Oh man. Can we just do it?
Well, the
What
Schalke
is that?
coaches, they had to come correct,
What have I created? What have I created?
We're professionals now, so
Oh,
you know.
man.
Oh, ever since they got the job at Schalke.
I know.
That's right. You got it.
No,
See, that's why I'm wearing blue.
How goes it at Schalke, Matt? What's the plan there?
It's going well. We got to win. Did you see? Come on. It's more than like what? 3/4 of a year? Come on.
Mhm.
Doing great. Taking them to the moon. Here we go.
Are there any players that you're excited about working with there?
There's still a lot of time. We got to really look at what we have at our disposal. There's a young American there, so I'm trying not to show any favoritism, but hopefully that he can do well for us in the Bundy 2, and we're gonna see how we do. So yeah, I'm excited.
What are your expectations for next season?
We're gonna be back up. We're gonna be back up and challenging. There we go. That's right. It's a business meeting. It's business time. It's a serious discussion.
What is going on?
Man.
Right.
What in the world is happening?
Oh, man. Yes, I need to go shopping. I wear the same 3 shirts the whole time.
All right. You know what? You know what? Next week I'm showing up in a tux.
Oh my God.
Mike, I've seen some of your suits. You don't want to wear those.
What are you talking about? I have nice suits.
I'll put on my Steve Harvey suit. I got one of those.
Please.
Oh, we're going to go back. Yes. We need to go back to the 90s suits, the late 90s, like Chicago Bulls with the big shoulder pads and the long jackets and the obnoxious colors.
Yep.
I
got a cream color.
2000, like the 2002 NBA draft. That's what you need to do.
Yes. I need to start taking my suit tips. There's always that one store stead in the mall that sells those.
Oh, yeah. I know the store.
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
Because that store's in every mall.
about.
And it's a shame that we only do it from the top up, because what we could do is we could go out and get the Steve Harvey suit. And then we got to get the Gators.
Oh, well, yeah. That's true.
You got to get the Gators.
Got to get the Gators. That's right.
Got to get the Gators. We're going to get a pink suit with a pink pair of Gators.
Oh, man. Mike, what happened? What happened to our show? What happened?
Normally I'm excited if I can get through the first hour, and then I lose control. I got through 30 minutes. I got through 30 minutes, and then it went completely off the rails tonight. And I'm pretty sure, what? Like I said, maybe everybody's just a little punchy because it's almost the end of the season.
Yeah, I think so. We've been going at this week after week after week of no breaks. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead,
What's
Ill
your
Will.
theory?
Okay, so I can definitively blame both a horse and Sir Alex Ferguson for the European Super League.
Okay. There was a horse that he part-owned.
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Rock of Gibraltar.
Rock of Gibraltar. Yeah.
The Rock of Gibraltar caused the Glazers to buy Manchester United, undisputably.
Mm-hmm.
That is what brought money into English football in such a way that it was irretrievable. Therefore, the Rock of Gibraltar and Sir Alex Ferguson ruined football.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I'm kind of on the Roy Keane.
Yeah, we all know that.
See, one of my theories was accepted. That's all we need to know.
But the other counter to that would be that not long, at the same time that the Glazers were looking at purchasing Manchester United, Roman Abramovich was also sneaking around Chelsea. So you can't, he decided, his advisors, I think it was Peter Kenyon, who told him not to buy United because they feared the fan backlash if they did, which is why he bought Chelsea after they qualified for that Champions League. He saw an opportunity. So it's also easy to blame Roman Abramovich for...
Yeah, but it's not quite as cool as blaming a horse.
I like how Roman Abramovich too has basically been like, I had nothing to do with the Super League. It was the advisors. He told me to do it, and I didn't want to do it in the first place. But I don't think I'm gonna fire him.
Well, I think,
But he's made
and-
me a lot of money
Yeah.
recently, so
yeah.
he can keep his head.
Yeah, Abramovich is like, I had nothing to do with this. No protest at Chelsea, please.
I mean, I'm surprised that all those old men didn't like permanently damage their hamstrings with all the backpedaling they did in the immediate
real.
aftermath of the. Like, I'm trying to figure out where the Glazers were, Abramovich, were they all in the training rooms getting their Achilles looked at afterwards? Because with all the backpedaling, there were sure to be some lower body injuries.
Some blowouts there.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So
that's why we haven't seen them in public recently.
It's true.
Well, we haven't had you on in a little bit, and a chance to catch up a little bit. Liverpool going through a bit of a resurgence.
I guess you could call it that. You know, they've gotten a few wins on the trot, 2 very important wins recently. One that I guess we will touch on, and one that we might also touch on. You know, Liverpool's been going through a little bit of a good spell. You know, 3 wins on the trot, isn't it? And 6 unbeaten, something along those lines. 6 or 7 unbeaten. So yeah, they're picking it back up at the end of the season. The last 3 games, I've been sort of happy to see Liverpool players sort of playing. I don't. I think that's the best way that I can say that. You know, I think first of all, Trent Alexander-Arnold's got an assist in each of those 3 games, so that's always nice to see him coming back into his form, coming back and showing that he is the best right back in England. You know, you can say it's debatable defensive capabilities. I think that he showed, was it yesterday or Sunday? Yesterday, I think that he has defensive capabilities. He's got some pretty good ones. He's got some good covering instincts. He can cover a back line in such a way that a lot of defenders are expected to do. And he can put a ball in that is completely undisputably the best ball in the game. And he's done that for the last 3 games on the trot, and Liverpool have won the last 3 games on the trot. I don't think it's been difficult to imagine him being one of the best players in all 3 of those games. So that's always nice to see, especially for him, because he's a young player. He's still coming back into his confidence right now, and I like to see the Liverpool players playing well and playing happily. I've made no bones about the fact that I don't think that Liverpool deserves to be in the Premier League or the Champions League next season. So, you know, it's really great for the players to show what they've got and show that they're coming back into it and being good players and playing as well as I know they can play. But, you know, if it comes down to it, and it's not going to come down to this, but I don't think they deserve to play in the Champions League next season. I think that the manager's decision has to be punished in some way, and the only tangible way to punish them is to say you can't play in European competition for 5 years or something along those lines. It needs to be a harsh punishment, and I'm sorry, a £15 million fine between 6 clubs in the Premier League is not a harsh punishment. And you might say, oh, you know, it's more than £15 million. At maximum, it's going to be £15 million each, and that's if they all qualify for the quarterfinal of the Champions League, every single one of them. And that's just not going to happen. So I really enjoyed watching Liverpool play, the Liverpool players playing well, and sort of connecting and linking up and scoring goals again, and playing happily, and seeing the relief and the happiness on their faces when they were getting those passes through and getting the ball into good positions. But, you know, it's still sort of poisoned for me.
So on the other end of the spectrum, Matt, it was a tough week for United, just in the sheer number of games being played. Fortunately for United, most of their job was done by Sunday, right? So we had two tough games against Leicester and Liverpool within the span of 50 hours, the protests, all of that sort of stuff. Are you concerned at all, or is it just a matter of it was an impossible run of fixtures and it kind of just, it's over now? Let's get ourselves collected and get ready for these last two games as we get into the Europa League final.
No, I'm definitely concerned, especially defensively. Like, we're just not. I mean, I think we're honestly, for all the crap that we gave Maguire, like, I think we're seeing what he actually brings to the team. I mean, if you're a United fan, like, how many times, like, without fans in the stadium, you've heard, sound bites of Maguire, just yelling at some of the defenders to stay focused. And I think he brings a lot of the stuff that a lot of fans don't always see. I mean, it's not just Leicester, the loss against Leicester and Liverpool. It's also, we lost that game against Roma too. I mean, and defense, I mean, we've been leaking in goals the last 3 games. I think it's something like 12 goals or something. Maybe it's a little less. I don't know, but we're all over the place. And yeah, I'm a little concerned for the final. I can see them like kind of letting up. I can get an argument of it was too many games in a short span of time when we finally did play Liverpool. I understand that. And but I mean, the motivation should have been there. I mean, we really could have put Liverpool, sat them back, almost made their Champions League hopes disappear completely. We had the opportunity to do that, especially a year after, they won the title, and already knowing that City had won the title this year. I think the players and the coaching staff should have known that how big that game would have been. And I don't know, we came out, played pretty well, but then we just handed that game to Liverpool. I mean, especially the third goal with Shaw trying to dribble out of the defense and right up the middle. And then, yeah,
that had all the hallmarks to me of fatigue minds, poor decision making, that the types of poor decision that you make when you're exhausted, right? That they just weren't thinking, and they put it on autopilot, and the decision making just wasn't there. Shaw trying to dribble out, the turnovers, the lack of passing, the poor decision making that plagued them. And that's something that Ole is going to have to try and figure out how to fix, right? And the one thing that I will give him credit for is this season, unlike in last season, he has done a pretty good job of being able to do that and to get them to find a way to recover from that, to make the decisions that need to be made. If it's a learning experience, it's a learning experience. So, Will, I know that you're a little bit bummed, but let's get this question, which we need to, and I'll get an answer from everybody. Will Liverpool qualify for, not should they but will they qualify? Destiny is in their hands, right? Leicester has to play Chelsea. Yeah. Unless one or both are going to drop points. Will they qualify for the Champions League?
I'll answer that in a moment. I just want to point out that watching Manchester United versus Liverpool kind of looked like watching Liverpool for the last 15 games. So Manchester United just looked sort of out of sorts.
That's a really good point.
I mean, it just sort of looked like they had hit the goal for the season, and they're like, okay, I've got one game that I care about left. And that sort of looked like watching Liverpool this season quite a bit. I mean, I do have to say that game, I don't think that, as much as it's pretty much a crime to play every 2 days, I don't think that 10 of the 11 players on that field can say that they played every 2 games. But that being said, I don't think the fixture list did them any favors, and I'd say mental fatigue was a big factor in that. But going back to your question, Mike, I think yes. I think they can. I think that they probably will. I kind of see even if they get a win and a draw, them going through into fourth and playing in the Champions League next season. But I think that they'll probably beat Burnley. And then it will all come down to the final day. And there's a good chance that they beat Crystal Palace. I know that Crystal Palace has been a pretty difficult team for Liverpool to beat in the last 5-6 years, but they've sort of gotten that off their back a little bit in the last couple of years with Klopp, and I think that that's gonna play through and shine through, and they'll probably get through into the top four. They are in the driving seat, as you've said. Destiny's in their hands, so who knows?
Which team, if Liverpool makes it, which team
Leicester.
will do you think give Leicester?
That's
Sean.
the team I want. I mean, that's the team I want to, like, you know, it's sort of that sad thing where you're like, there's only one team in the top 5 right now that I actually care about, and that's Leicester. Like, I was thrilled when they won the FA Cup. And you know.
So you're saying you think Chelsea's going to give way?
I mean, that's what I hope. But I also hope that they don't give way too much, like maybe 1-0, so that they can come back and win the Champions League final. And like,
Okay.
you know, just so that Manchester City doesn't get it. That's my dream.
Sean, who do you think? Do you think Liverpool can make it? And if they do, who do you think is on the outside looking in?
I think Liverpool will make it. Yeah, I think they're just coming into form at the right time, and I think that Chelsea will be finishing in 5th. I would agree with Will. Yeah. I just had a quick look at the salary league table, guys. So if you look at the salary league, we'll be talking about players and having to buy big players for next season, etc. I mean, football isn't just about that. But if you look at the salary table, Man U are on the top of that. So you're currently, I don't know who's collected the data, but on the table I'm looking at, you're currently just ahead of Man City. But I just wanted to praise one team who are currently, so if you look at the, hold on, I'm just bringing it up. So they reckon there's £177 million worth of wages being spent by Manchester United. Liverpool are spending 135 million. Arsenal are spending 130 million, and Spurs are spending 129 million. And then if you go to the bottom of that table,
Is it Villa?
it's quite astonishing, but Leeds are 19th with 22 million salary.
Wow.
So we are spending £100 million a year more than they are, and they are 1 point and 1 place behind us in the Premier League. So hats off to Mr. Bielsa.
We always said that Leeds were going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, what do you think? Do you think Liverpool will make it? And if they do, who do you think gives way?
I'm gonna be the odd man out. I'm gonna say they're not gonna make it. I don't know. I think it's likely. I think it's the most likely situation now. I also think that West Brom were absolutely robbed in that game through VAR deciding that that player was obstructing the goalie, which is ridiculous.
It wasn't really VAR, was it? Because the linesman put his flag up. Like that's the reason I don't have so much issue with that decision. Like I don't know that it's the right decision, but the linesman put his flag up. Like I could see the decision going either way, and I really don't. I think that they probably got really quite hard done by, but I don't know that it was a clear and obvious error by the linesman.
I think it's worse if it was no call made and then VAR reversed it as opposed to a linesman making a mistake.
That's very true.
Yeah.
No, that's very true. I don't know. I feel like this shoe has been on the other foot for Liverpool a lot of the time, where it's like, if that goal gets, ruled out for For obstruction, it's like, VIR is a joke. It's the absolute worst thing ever. But anyway, I mean, yes, they beat United, but like that game was all over the place. If you watch that game, it wasn't good, like defensive soccer period, like at all from either team.
There's a 19-year-old in a second division German player.
But I'm not saying that's fine. Like,
sorry,
that's
20-year-old. He turned 20 recently.
It's a valid excuse. There's still this. They weren't that good. Then you come in against West Brom. I just didn't see them really, like, I don't know. I thought they would have run away with that game. And they're still kind of, I mean, it took a 94th minute Allison header, which is awesome. I mean, it's crazy. 95th, sorry. to win that game. If they draw that game, everyone's like, well, Liverpool threw away their Champions League, right then and there. Remember also too, Burnley beat Liverpool at Liverpool, so I really wouldn't put it past them. Again, it's different. I mean, Burnley's safe, so maybe they're not trying as hard. Same with Palace. Like, what are they fighting for? So I don't know, but I don't know. I can see Chelsea squeaking in, and I just don't see Leicester dropping. I don't know. I just don't think. I think it's going to be Leicester and Chelsea in the CL final, but I'm probably very biased.
What do you think, Stead? Do you think Liverpool makes it?
Yeah, I do. I think Liverpool makes it. I mean, I'm gonna throw Leicester into the PSG bracket here. They haven't shown me since their title-winning season that they can hang down the stretch, and they've done a much better job this year. But they won a cup final. I mean, you saw how emotional that was, and that is a club that I respect a lot, but I still think that's a 5th, 6th, 7th place club in the Premier League. And I just, having to play Chelsea, having to play Spurs after you just won a championship, you're going to have a little bit of a hangover there, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Rightfully so. I mean, I don't think.
Can I champion Leicester for a second?
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. What I'm saying is that you can't fault Leicester for not winning these last 2 games, considering the competition they're playing against. You can't fault them. So that's why I feel like if any team were to go down between Leicester and Chelsea, I would bet more on Leicester. Though I do think, though, that I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea went down either, considering that, again, I think out of all the teams right now, they have the most on their plate with having to do a Champions League final and trying to finish top 4. And I don't know if they can beat City 3 times in one season. It's just, there's just a lot of stress going on there. So, Will, before you pick it back up, I'm not faulting Leicester. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm just saying I don't think it's bad if they don't, and I won't feel like they fail if they don't, is what I'm saying.
Really, really quick, Will. I will say this about Chelsea though too. They also, you can argue they have the most pressure on them right now. They lost the FA Cup final. They could lose the Champions League final, and if they drop out of the top 4, I mean that's pretty bad.
Gone.
I mean,
job gone.
Well,
yeah.
That
Chelsea Mike's in the waiting room.
We're gonna bring him in.
We'll bring him in.
But I just want to champion Leicester really quickly, because the season before they won the Premier League, they were going down. They came back up. They won the league, and then everyone thought they were going to go away. Instead, I completely see what you're saying. They have probably the least pressure on them, and so they might have the least foot on the gas. But everyone thought they were going to go away.
See, I don't know. Maybe because I didn't is why I'm saying what I'm saying.
They haven't gone away in anyone's estimation. Like, in the season before Leicester won the Champions League, everyone thought that Southampton was some really big, really hot stuff. They were playing some really nice football. They were doing really well. And they got up to like 7th. And everyone was like, oh, Southampton's like the next big 6 team or big 7 team. And then Leicester came in and they won the league. And everyone was like, yeah, but that was a fluke. Like, the odds will never be the same again, but that was a fluke. And I think that's just a really well-run club.
They are.
Yeah, but I can't say the Leicester was a fluke though, because did I feel it was fluky when it happened? Of course I did, because I was mad because Arsenal finished 2nd that season, and I felt like that was their best chance, and they swept Leicester. But a lot of that argument went to bed during their Champions League campaign the following season. Don't forget they quarterfinaled that year.
Mhm.
So a lot of the talk about Leicester being this one shot wonder was pretty much out. I mean, from what my circle of influence was, I felt like that was kind of gone. And Mike, we were talking about this very early in this show about how we're not saying Leicester's the new Everton, but we were pretty well convinced that they would be a team that would hang around 10th basically year in and year out, as long as they still had the structures that they had in place. And we've seen that. And I don't think anyone was surprised that Leicester won the FA Cup. I don't think anyone's been surprised though, that they've also finaled on a couple of occasions between their rise. And look, the greatest game they were a part of was when they lost to Watford, and you saw what happened since that game has occurred. They've been actually a well-run, enjoyable team to watch. And look, they were able to keep Jamie Vardy. They were able to keep him.
I think that was the big
That's
one.
huge.
And I think of all the
Also-
players that they've lost, they have been able to find similar.
Yeah, but like Yuri
replacements.
Tillemans is having a great time there. He's having a great, he's
and
having a
I
great
just
run there.
question whether or not when Vardy does go, whether
Yes.
what they will be able to
Exactly.
get.
But as long as he's still there, it can still score 12 to 15 goals every season. I don't think you can count them out of anything in the top 10.
Can we talk
So
about
let's-
Messi
too-
and Nacho?
With all of that too, I mean, like with all the Super League and the owners fallout, talk about ownership to envy from all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
their ownership group is just phenomenal. And the family really treats that club like a family. It's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Well, and don't forget, it wasn't 2 years ago that
Mhm.
their owner
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
basically
true.
And their
off
sons
the-
pick up the mantle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His sons picked up the mantle and
Mantle,
kept it
and
forward.
you saw
The
how
photos are
emotional he
fantastic
was.
too. The photos with
Yeah.
him and the players are fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, what it meant for him, given the circumstances that he inherited the leadership of that club. So we are going to bring in the other half right now of this and give him a chance to vent. Mike, that didn't go how we planned it.
I'm sad. I'm sad. Wasn't a good weekend for us.
Yes. What
Because
happened?
on top of losing the FA Cup final, which we did, the Chelsea women were then just blasted by the Barcelona women in the Women's Champions League final. 4 goals in the first 36 minutes. I turned it off at that point. It was hard to watch. Everything we needed to happen in the Premier League didn't. It was a bad weekend. I'm sad. I like this sport.
Is that it?
Yep.
Well,
It was complete and utter BS that they allowed the goal to continue. I mean, I guess indeed he can just hand pass the ball over there to Thomas, and that'll be fine. Because if it didn't hit his hand, it was going over his head back into the Chelsea defense. I mean, if they're calling back goals for handballs earlier in plays all throughout the season, which they have been, then they have to call that back. I mean, they have to do work on the handball rule over the course.
yeah,
of
we
the
should
season,
have
because
Los
they
on
have to
here.
be
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
I
Mike,
think we should
Mike, we
chop
were talking.
every footballer's hand off, basically. We should chop
Yeah.
all their arms off, and then
Right.
we don't have to worry about it anymore. Exactly. Yeah.
Mike, we were discussing earlier though about kind of like where Chelsea stands right now, because you got to look, they were in 2 cup finals and they're in this kind of like dance for top 4. So there's a lot of, you're on a knife's edge here where you could secure a top 4, maybe even top 3, win the FA Cup and win the Champions League final, or you could finish 6th and and have no trophies. What is the feel of these next couple of weeks? Because you've had one miss here with the FA Cup, and now it looks like it could turn into something relatively disastrous. And we're looking at Tuchel going, all right, well, Tuchel's not going to go by way of Mourinho. So what do you feel is going on right now?
Hold on. Let me just continue to finish venting.
Well,
Let's face it.
I'm sorry, just take your vent and just run right into my question and just keep on going. Okay.
I will. Let's face it. If Tielemans doesn't score a howler of a goal right there, that gets called back. I mean, it was an all-time FA Cup memory. And the VAR guy sitting there with his finger on the trigger didn't care about the rules right there. There was some politics involved. And, it didn't get called back. I mean, look, Chelsea were unlucky too. Let's recall they hit the post twice on one play. And of course, we don't have to get out the slide rules for the handball, but I guess they did for Ben Chilwell. Although, that was the right call. I'm not gonna do it there, but it was a very frustrating weekend. And now, I mean, Alisson Becker scored a goal. The goalie scored a goal to keep Liverpool in the hunt to take us down. The goalie scored a goal. It's starting to feel like the stars are not exactly aligning for old Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel really, really needs to win tomorrow. He really, really, really needs to win tomorrow. And that's all there is to it. I mean, they won't clinch then, but they'll be ahead of Leicester. They'll climb to third in the table. It'll take some pressure off. But it feels like he's got to win. And let's not count out Aston Villa on Sunday. And then, I think if he gets back to Europe, if he gets the team back to Europe, he'll be fine. But,
is he though?
Whereas
is he in a position though where, he's so close, right? It's not, if they don't make it to Europe with Lampard in charge, you could have said when he took over for Lampard, just getting him into Europe is fine. We're in the FA Cup final. You are in the top 3. He has created this renaissance that took them all the way from out of Europe into Europe to the Champions League final. It's almost though if he does not succeed in these next 3 games, it's got to feel like a little bit of a failure. Whether or not that's correct is immaterial to the fact that it would look, smell, feel like a failure to miss out on. To miss out on Europe, to miss out on the Champions League when you had an FA Cup final, a Champions League final, and then 2 other games to win it, to get yourself there. That's got to feel like, okay, this is bad.
Yeah, it would be pretty dispiriting. From a fan's perspective on Thomas Tuchel, I think what he's been able to do to come in and pretty much rescue the team is laudable. I think he's done a good job. And if we were any other club in the world, there'd be a fair number of plaudits for coming into a bad situation, turning it around, and almost getting us over the hill and into the big games and winning the big games. We're close. We got a young team. I think any other club in the world would be happy for the way we're set up next year. But we are Chelsea FC, and it's not going to go over with the owner if he's in 2 single game finals, and he loses both, and we miss out on Europe. I'm sorry, there's been plenty of managers fired for less.
Remember, he's only on a short-term contract.
Yep.
I know there have been plenty of managers fired for less, but have there been plenty of managers fired for the first goal in 129 years? Because it was the first Liverpool goalkeeper to score in 129 years.
Wait,
of
aren't you still behind
professional
West Ham in the table?
football. Nope.
No.
No,
Not
they're
anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah. West Ham's down in the conference league now. This
Yeah.
is where they should be. I'm sure Andy would probably not argue too much with that. That's probably a better place for them to,
I
to be
think we
trying to play against
actually,
Champions League.
I think we actually asked Andy that question,
Mhm.
and he was like, "This is the perfect. That would be the perfect tournament for them
Yeah.
because it's not forcing them to go out and try and compete on all fronts with teams that are a little bit above their weight class traditionally,
Mhm.
right? You know, going in and competing in the Champions League, competing in even in Europa League
Even
would
Europa
be a
League.
lot. Would be a lot for West Ham as they are currently
Yeah.
set up.
Especially as the Champions League rejects go to Europa League, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
still don't
so
like that because they always beat Arsenal, but
I don't think I think if we ask Andy next week, and it is that they finish in the Europa Conference League, that they'll be happy with it.
Mhm.
I know that if they finish in the Europa League, that you and Sean will be happy with it because if they're going to do that, that'll be at the expense of Spurs.
Spurs.
So if there's one thing that can salvage an Arsenal fan season, it's making sure that Spurs get screwed in the process too.
Yeah.
So Mike,
Or Manchester
he
United.
looks, we said he looks like a guy who needs a win, right? And certainly a win tomorrow may not heal the wounds of this weekend, but it'll go a long way. It will help.
Yeah, no,
What do
I
you think?
and well, I want to say this. The 11 he put out there for a final is weird. I get that. I get you go with Kepa. He's been playing in the FA Cup. But playing Ziyech, why? He didn't do a lot out there. He didn't look particularly great. You know, playing Azpilicueta on the outside as opposed to Reece James. I guess he had maybe matchups in mind with their speedy forwards, but still, like, their offensive attack in the first half was bad. I mean, he needs to put out the best 11 tomorrow.
I think
What
that
what's
was a
the
lot of
best 11,
criticism.
Mike?
Yeah.
What is the best 11?
To me, up front, it's Havertz, Pulisic, Mount. Jorginho and Conte in the middle, Chilwell and James on the outside, and Rudiger and Silva. And there's another defense. I'd put Azpilicueta in the back too. I mean, that's my best 11, and then you've got Hudson-Odoi as another outside threat, and Giroud would be my first striker off the bench in that.
You haven't mentioned Timo at all, so he doesn't even get in the squad, does he?
I mean, not really. He just doesn't have it in front of goal right now. He has the pace. He creates opportunities. And so I guess I'd make him my third sub if you needed a goal. But it's, what teams have been doing recently, it seems, has been sort of packing back. And Timo's showed his usefulness as like an open field player, getting the ball, finding a guy, or taking a shot, and then, the rebound goes everywhere. The close quarters, hand-to-hand combat, they're going to pack in sort of soccer. He has been not really great at. And I don't.
Is that your Champions League final team as well against Man City?
Probably, but I think they start Werner. Probably at the expense of Pulisic, which I don't like. But it is what it is. I don't know. He hasn't been everything he's needed to be the kind of striker that we paid that much money for this year. And we need right now the people who are going to win. I mean, I think Lampard got sucked into that a little bit. I'm sure there's front office pressure to play him, but Lampard got sucked into not putting out the best 11. It's like putting out the 11 that's supposed to be out there. He's got to go with who's working right now. Tuchel's been good at that. At the beginning of this, Hudson-Odoi was hot, and he sort of played him, and he sort of faded into the background now a little more. But Havertz has come along. At the beginning of the year, he was looking pretty bad. I mean, he had COVID. He got a very bad case of that. And it sort of took him a while, but he's looked impressive generating chances. He's not hitting the target on those chances as much as you'd like, but I don't know. Werner just hasn't evolved throughout the year, and he has looked better at times under Tuchel, but
I'd just like to ask, where is Tammy Abraham in your lineup or on your bench?
On a long bench, he's on it. On a short bench, he probably isn't.
So the forward who has more goals than Callum Hudson-Odoi is not on the bench.
Yeah,
Because I just personally think that Chelsea have really kicked Tammy Abraham in the face in more ways than one. I think that he's been hard done by Chelsea, and I wonder what the case is about that. Because if there's one player that I could see Liverpool signing from Chelsea, it would be Tammy Abraham.
I don't know if he'd really be a good fit there, because he's not really a Firmino replacement, and he's not really like a Salah. He's more like a pure striker, like a 1-5.
But that's what people have been saying about Liverpool. They've been missing that pure striker. So
Yeah,
if there's one player I would sign from Chelsea, it would be Tammy Abraham. And I'm just kind of wondering if you know more about his trajectory at Chelsea.
I don't know. We've talked about this on the show a little bit before. Just the way that he gets himself into open positions, but it's not really the right position to get the ball towards goal. Yeah, he scored a lot in the early season, but when they were running Lampard's system, he was like the 9. And so, yes, he found his way to goal. He is a great player. And I mean, there might be a world where, Olivier Giroud is in his mid-30s. There's a world, I think, in this Thomas Tuchel system where Olivier Giroud doesn't exist, and Tammy Abraham is able to work himself back in as that sort of fourth attacking option, the guy off the bench, the guy who's playing in other games, but he doesn't have the pace of Werner or the ball skills of Havertz, or just he doesn't have the spunk of Mason Mount or of Pulisic to just take the ball and go 15 yards in the final third, make a guy miss. His goals this year have been from services into him where he's converted the ball from a good pass. So he's got talent. He's still young, but just they have so many people. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to find the field. And again, like Giroud could leave this year, and that would solve a lot of problems in terms of Tammy Abraham getting in the game. But Giroud has just been better in better situations.
Well, I think Giroud's been your best striker. Full stop.
So we need to shift gears a little bit, Mike. Give us an update on the playoffs and lower league football.
Playoffs, lower league football. We had the championship today. We had Brentford versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth, and you know what? Both of the playoff games were great today. And you know what? In those small stadiums, it really makes a difference with the fans. Having the fans there cheering on their side, like it's kind of, it's hard to say, but like you just missed it, where they're booing bad calls and they're, chanting guys' names. We had two great games today, and Bournemouth and Brentford 1-0. Going back over to Brentford. It was a good day for the Cherries, and they got one in. Even better though, I think that the other game today, Barnsley was great at home. The fans there, it was a great day for American soccer fans. The Barnsley fans were chanting Daryl DK's name. And they had a really good game. I mean, Sean, did you watch the games today? Is Sean here?
Sean, you're muted.
Leave?
Sean, you're muted.
Sean,
Sean, you're muted.
No,
There
I
you
didn't,
go.
Mike. Sorry, no, I missed the game.
Oh, no.
Sorry. So was the final score 1-0 Swansea?
It was 1-0 in both games. Swansea scored a winner away. But again, there's no away goals rule in the lower league playoffs.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't really matter that it's away or home. But like I said, being at Barnsley, the fan presence, it's almost kind of shocking. Because they're not big stadiums anyway. And with 4,000 people there, it really made a difference in watching the games. So both of their second legs will be on Saturday. And Bournemouth 1-0 up going home, and Swansea 1-0 up going home. Everything to play for. These are four really good teams. And the games were really fun to watch. You almost feel like they all deserve to be in the Premier League, but only one can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I like Swansea. They have a Golden Glove winning keeper who was excellent today. But again, I think it's going to be Swansea Bournemouth. Bournemouth still have all the Premier League talent that they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, that was not good enough to stay up then, but it might be good enough for them to win a playoff with. And then so they were the only playoffs today. Tomorrow you have Newport County and Forest Green in League 2.
Yeah.
Oxford United and Blackpool in League 1. Then the next day, Lincoln City, Sunderland, League 1, and Tranmere Morecambe, League 2. I'm looking forward to the Forest Green game. I almost
Me
feel
too.
like that's the championship bracket of League 2. Again, Newport County gave Tottenham fits in the FA Cup, and Forest Green just the hippiest story in soccer.
Mm-hmm. The vegan team.
The vegan team. They've written off betting sponsors, so let's see them in League One. But I think they're going to lose to Newport County, and I think Newport County is going to take it. But they've got very quick turnarounds in League One and Two. League Two plays their second, the second game on Sunday, but League One is Tuesday, Friday, and then Wednesday, Saturday, and then Wembley next weekend. That championship playoff final might be a little bit overshadowed by another all English game going on that same day. But I'll still watch it.
We have figured out a way to schedule better so that the playoffs don't happen the same day as the playoffs don't happen the same day as the European Cup final. I mean,
well, it's you have yourself an English afternoon, you watch the championship playoff final, you have a spot of tea, you sit back and act very properly, and then it's pub time for the night game, European nights, floodlights. I've got it all figured out. I've got my schedule for next Saturday all figured out.
We'll definitely have you on next week to recap the lower league playoffs and to give us a bit of a preview. And next week is our big season ender.
Yeah, we're going to be lining them up and knocking them out, so be ready. Mike, we actually have to stick to the schedule next week.
Oh yeah, we really do, because with everybody on. I was looking at it though. Speaking of schedules, I have not yet seen what NBC's plan for this Sunday is.
Yeah.
I suspect that I'll check tomorrow and it'll be on. Over here, Sean, they have a tendency to put all the games on one of their broadcast networks. I imagine that there'll be probably one or two that end up on Peacock Premium.
Yeah, it'll have to be it would be a shame if they put two on because you couldn't watch both of them. So yeah, it'd be a shame if they did that. But.
And I wonder who's going to get the short end of the straw.
City.
Well, I mean, I'd imagine they'd put the games on. They'd shift over to Peacock Premium, the games that don't really have.
I will say this: it seems like this season in particular, there really isn't much to play for so many of these teams, especially when you get to the bottom half of the table. There's no one or two teams that needs to score a goal or get a draw to stay up. I mean, that's pretty much etched in stone. So I think this may not be one of the more exciting championship Sundays. It's probably going to only matter to Liverpool, Spurs, West Ham, and Leicester and Chelsea, and that's probably about it.
That is a good point. It is a weird season insofar as so much final position, maybe not. And a lot of these final positions could be determined well previewed.
We still have another game left. Yeah.
So as of right now, I'm looking at it. All the games are on Peacock Premium.
They probably just haven't doled it out yet,
I can't believe that they.
USA Network's going to get a game. Come on, we'll get one on television.
I can't imagine because it's showing, but it's also showing like all the games over the course of the next couple of days, with the exception of Burnley Liverpool being on Peacock Premium, and that frightens me because that means tomorrow. The games will be on Peacock Premium, like if they haven't announced it. So,
I totally missed an opportunity with Liverpool. Will here, like he was really feeling his oats. All right, but they were playing West Brom, right? Like, I mean. They're the 19th ranked team on the table.
Who have already been relegated.
I know. I mean, we lost them 5-2 but our center half got a red card in the first half. But I mean, you barely beat West Brom. You think you belong in the Champions League?
Well, to his credit, before you came on, he honestly said that he does not think that they belong in the Champions League. And of all of us, he's perhaps been the harshest on doling out punishments for the former ESL teams. I mean, he earlier advocated a 5-year European ban for all of those teams. I personally am not willing to.
Could you imagine that 5-year European ban for those teams?
He
So
wants
the
them
teams that
expelled from the
finished
Premier
7th through
League.
12th go to the
Champions
Europe League and Europa League.
Well, wait a second.
Oh,
No, it's
that
not
would
the
be
teams
great.
not the teams that finished 7 through 12, because Leicester and West Ham
Yeah,
are still
That's
in
true. That's
4th
true.
and 6th right now.
That's true.
So West Ham, Leicester, and then I guess Leeds.
Yeah, it would be Leeds. Yeah, and Everton.
Yeah, West Ham, Leicester, West Ham, Everton, and Leeds.
And believe it'll be no, it'll be Villa will take the Europa League spot.
Mhm.
That would be fun.
Let's see. If he had his way, I'm just pulling up the standings right now. It would be Leicester City, West Ham, Everton, and Leeds in the Champions League. It'd be Villa and Wolves in the Europa League, and Crystal Palace all the way down in 13th, making it to the Conference League.
And
man.
no one would be watching football.
No.
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 I would watch the first round of group fixtures for the humor of the whole thing, and that'd probably be the end of it.
Oh, and remember, the Europa, the Conference League is a playoff, and so is the second Europa League place, right? Only one gets right into the group stage. So therefore, you would have the likes under that scenario. You'd have Palace and Wolves in playoffs. They'd lose them right off the bat. Now, fortunate for Wolves, if you lose a Europa League playoff, guess where you end up?
The Europa
Conference
Conference League.
League. Yeah. So
I'm actually kind of interested to see the Europa Conference League next year. If like a West Ham, because I've been thinking about it, and it's like, who's going to be in it? And like, I'm like, wow, West Ham has to be better than them, right? Like a lot better.
Hey, man, we may see the Brest from the Belarusian league in there. You know, they might be the ones that compete.
It is a tournament that
They're
is
fourth in the
supposed
league
to-
at the minute, unbeaten stats.
There you go. All right.
So the Europa League, the Europa Conference League may have a Brest in it.
Yes. Well, our rivals are only two. There are only two behind us, as they say. Behind us. Anyway, yeah. 2 Brests could be.
So there could be 2 Brests in the Europa Conference League.
Yeah.
So we could make sure that we have 2 Brests in the Conference League.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We need.
I've got to say
one thing, by the way. I just looked at the French league, so it's much more interesting there because they have a playoff. So their equivalent of Ligue 2, which is our championship, is home and away, first, fourth, second, third. Then whoever wins those 2 plays each other, but they then have to play a one-off game against the team that finishes third bottom.
Oh, kind of like in Germany. Okay, that's cool.
Germany does the exact
does
same
that as well?
thing. Yeah, there are a couple of leagues that do that.
I like that. I really like that.
I think Fulham's been given every chance this year. I don't think they need another one.
That's just West London jealousy, Mike. That's all, buddy.
I mean, it's one more game for that. Germany, Germany does the same thing, and it's interesting, but it you feel
Well,
like it does.
there could be 2 Paris teams in the French First Division next year.
Wow, hasn't
Ooh,
happened in a
Paris
while.
FC, are they?
Paris FC are in the
Wow.
playoff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, gentlemen, it's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely been interesting. I did not know that the show had a dress code. I thought I was being cute with my Mandalorian t-shirt today. Little did I know that I was going to show up to my own pod underdressed.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mhm.
evening wear, formal wear is on the agenda for next week. All right. So it's been good. I want to thank Mr. Roger Hendler for coming on, talking about his experience at the Atlanta United game. Big shouts out to Coach G for getting this comic relief started. Man, they had to plan that.
Absolutely.
They had to. The Will and Matt show rolls on. Thanks to Chelsea Mike for coming on and joining us, giving us his musings, his rant on the FA Cup final. I know it was a rough weekend. Thank you. Hopefully we could be a little bit of catharsis for you. As
Hey,
always,
let's just keep focusing on these lower leagues,
Lower
Chelsea
leagues.
Mike. That's
I
what
mean,
I'm looking.
yeah.
That's all
Hey,
I'm looking at.
I'm
That's all I'm
happy-
looking at.
I'm happy to provide the Schadenfreude this week because I've gone from gloating, we're going to win Europe, the women, we're going to win the FA Cup, to, oh man, we're going to lose our coach.
it's
But
funny
the
what
one thing
each
you
and every.
can you can hope for, Mike, is that Jamie Vardy had one hell of a party on Saturday night.
Oh, it's true.
They'll all be
You know they did.
smashed before
You
tomorrow.
know they did.
Yes, and we know what kind of party Jamie Vardy has.
Oh yes. Oh,
He's legendary
yes.
for those.
I would not
thank
mind
you.
being friends with. I can tell you that.
Thank you, London Sean, for joining us, and as always, Stead. We did all right this week. Trying to do better next week. I'm Mike. This has been Too Many Guys Soccer Show, and have a good week.